Hello, everybody. We are back for Realtor Reputation, episode 7. I had to look down at my computer because anyway, I'm always thrown off.
Lucky number 7.
Today, we've got a great episode for you. I want to just say I appreciate all of our subscribers for liking, subscribing, and sharing our Realtor Reputation podcast. So we are grateful for you. I hope you've liked everything up to this point. But I'm Apryl Lopez.
And I'm Shannon Howard-Bisordi.
And we are going to be talking some good stuff today, I think.
Good stuff. Real stuff.
Real stuff. The real estate. Say that 15 times fast, right?
Yes, I had enough coffee or Diet Coke to get me to do that.
I'm already on, I had 2 cups of coffee and I've got a DC here.
And if Coca-Cola, you'd like to be our sponsor, please let us know.
We have no sponsors. We have nothing. So anyway, okay. So for episode 7, I'm really excited because in our section of Mom Moment of the Week, I had a really good mom moment. And it was, and my mom's okay with me telling you this, but I sold my mom's home.
That is so cool.
And I just figured I'd talk about it because it was one of those experiences. And if you follow me on social media, my mom is now calling me every single day because I said this on social media. I said, I think I've talked to you more in the last 25 days than I have in my entire lifetime. And now she calls me every day, hey, just calling you to bug you because you put it on social media. And I was like, you're crazy. So just kidding, Mom. I love you. And the reason I wanted to talk about it actually is because it happened so darn quickly that in this situation, we sold her house to buy a new house. So we did a contingent sale, which I think we've talked about before, contingent sales and that sort of thing. But the amount of time it took to prep her house for market, we had 5 days. 5 days.
So what does that look like, Apryl? What do you do in 5 days?
So 5 days, luckily it was my mother, which, I mean, I would do this for clients also, but I was at least able to walk in there and I just started grabbing stuff off the shelves, throwing it all on the dining room table and say, pack this up, get rid of it.
And then you got the secret garbage can where you're throw this away.
Yeah.
You don't need, this is not coming with.
And I'm just you need to, and my mom luckily lives
is a minimalist a little bit.
Well, Pottery Barn is my mom's house.
So it's
right?
She already has a good aesthetic.
She really does. So we didn't have to worry about staging and doing that sort of prep because really, I mean, don't get me wrong, what we did declutter just so that way everything looked really nice.
But you didn't have to bring in outside items.
Correct. And it was just a matter of, I don't know, go. And luckily she was on board because she to look at the replacement property, it happened super quick. And I was like, hey, it's a rainy day. Let's go look at this property you want to go look at.
Right.
And then I'm just okay. And then she's let's write an offer. And then it happened oh my gosh.
What do you want me to, this isn't just fun? Where you want it, you're serious?
Yeah. So then it was a lot of, okay, I'm wearing my mom-daughter hat right now. I'm talking to you as your daughter. And then I'd have to call her and be I'm talking to you as your agent now.
Put on your other hat.
Just because the conversations can be different, especially for us legally,
yes.
We do have to make sure that we don't advise, I guess you can say, for certain things.
Steering.
Right? We cannot steer. That's right. So, but as a daughter, I'm no. You need to listen to me. That's what, so.
I want that graduation picture taken off the mantle. Yeah. My people are going to come through and see that. Get that away. Yeah. I had bangs with the curling iron in that.
Oh my gosh.
Put it away.
The funny thing is when we were decluttering, depersonalizing, that sort of thing, I was oh, it's the pictures of my kids, but it's so cute. They look like little models. You can leave that.
Oh, yeah.
And she's but you told me to take everything down. I was but they're the cutest kids ever. So, but anyway, with that being my mom moment of the week, I could say, I figured let's kind of talk about that. I think it's important, especially as we're going into the spring selling season. Yes. And I have people just calling me hey, okay, I think I'm ready to sell my house. And I'm okay, well, what does that mean? And a lot of people don't realize the prep work of getting your house on market, right?
Yes.
And the amount of time that it takes, because sure, we did it in 5 days, but do you really think you can get your house ready for market in 5 days?
That's a great question. And I think it depends on a lot of things. It depends on what does your house look like to start with.
Right.
I mean, and that's not a derogatory thing, but it's like, do you live like Pottery Barn?
Sure.
How many people live in your house? Like for your mom, it's easy because she lives pretty much, with herself.
Yeah.
But if you have 3 kids and dogs and, animals, like what does that look like?
Right.
How do you keep up your house? Like, has it not been painted in 12 years?
Right.
Do you have kids like smudge marks on the walls? When you open your closets, do things fall out and hit you? I mean, these are real, right?
Or even the fact that like my closet, I have so many clothes, like you can barely even get anything.
I always get the question. Like we talk about like going through and like, depersonalizing and, like getting rid of this, and this. And they're always like, are they going to open the closet? And like, they're going to open the drawers too. And they're like, but with that being said, it doesn't mean that like you need to spend, your time like home editing and making sure everything's in color, coordinating, unless that's your jam.
Well, my closet is color.
But so is mine. But it needs to be neat so things don't fall on people.
For sure.
But I think it is a good question. And I think if somebody wants to sell their house, like they should be talking to us before 5 days before, because we can give them a list of things to do, and we'll give you some suggestions of items that we kind of just some quick tips that we recommend. But also the question I get a lot, I don't know if you have this, is people sometimes spend their money in the wrong places.
Yes.
And I think that that's a big one where if you have like a set amount of money to like freshen up your house, or maybe something's been broken and you're like, oh, I live here, I don't want to deal with the holes in the screens or whatever. Like, I think it's important to talk to us because some things will give you a better return on investment, and some things just have to be done, especially if they're a health and safety issue.
Sure.
I had somebody that's like, well, we haven't used our furnace in like, 6 months, and it's like summer. So like, so I could just like say it's broken, right? No. It's kind of like saying, my, transmission doesn't work on my car. You know what I mean? Like you can't like buy a car without some of the basics working. It's kind of like
my bike to work.
It's different than like, I don't like the color of the wall, or the bathroom's a little bit outdated. But when some major like component or, appliance is broken, those are like maintenance items, and a buyer doesn't really want to take on those things.
Well,
those
even
have to be fixed.
Absolutely. And even with that, like, especially going into the spring selling season, I always recommend getting your home and your pest inspections and everything, obviously, up front prior to going on market. And when you have that process of, okay, let's declutter, let's do this, let's get the inspectors over here so that way they can do that health check, essentially, of the home. But they're booking up.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's not like
it takes weeks to get appointments.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think, just knowing how much stuff do you have? Because like you said, your mom's kind of a minimalist, but, there's families that, they want to either downsize or upsize, and they've lived in their house 10, 12 years. I mean, if we were to move right now after 14 years in our house, we declutter like regularly, but my husband, thinks we have way too much stuff, which we do. but it would be a lot to pack and move. And I don't think I would take half of it. I think I would just be like, no, like garage sale, donate, whatever.
Well, my teenagers' rooms would be the biggest challenge because
we just like light a mat.
Well, we have like Taylor Swift. It's very cute the way my daughter has her room decorated. But like for Christmas, for instance, she has like these, it looks like an album cover, but it's like a record. Anyway, she has them all framed, but they're like all over the top of the room. For the Midnights, she released
the different
covers, and then she sent the little clock, and then you had to purchase the little clock hand because it makes a clock.
I didn't know that.
It's actually really cool. I'll take a picture.
Okay, I want to see that.
Yeah,
really cute.
I'll take a picture. So it was a marketing tactic on that one. Because my daughter had to buy all 4 plus the little clock.
So you didn't just buy one album, you bought 4
plus the clock.
That's amazing.
So anyway, but
genius.
Her room, point of the story, her room has Harry Styles and Taylor Swift and all of this stuff. As a teenager, if you remember, I remember when I was a teenager.
I had 90210 posters of Dylan and a pillow.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. I'm just saying.
And then even before that, what was it? Rainbow Bright? we totally had
when I
rainbow
was a
bright
Barbie
room.
girl and when the Barbie movie came out this year, I was like, oh my God, like I would have died to have like Barbie sheets and Barbie pillows. And like I almost bought them for my real bed, but my husband had to draw the line because I had like Barbie clothes.
Could you imagine having a pink bedroom right now? My husband would be like, who are you?
I mean, I almost did. Just
was
saying.
this close.
I'm like with the big bing, you know, like, you know how they do like the initials? Because, you know.
Would you have an S or would you put the B?
No, I put a B because my last name is Bisordi. So but I would get the pink Barbie.
Yes. And that actually would work. That would work.
I'd be like living in Sonoma.
So,
Sorry.
Wow, we get off topic a lot. So let's talk about this actually, since, you know, getting your house ready for market and that sort of thing. What are some key things that you tell your clients as far as, hey, let's hit these check marks as your list?
So the first thing we do is I believe strongly in the 3-pile method, and I use it myself, which is, you know, throw away, take with you, and donate. Because, you know, there are things and, you know, you get sentimental or they were expensive items and you want to like donate them or find a good home. But then there's just stuff like you don't need like the box with the missing puzzle pieces and stuff. So we start with kind of that, and I'll bring bins or bags, and we kind of go room by room, and we sort of declutter. Then we talk about, I think like the next most important thing is like cleaning. And this is for everybody. Even if you have a cleaner, like I think like the deep cleaning is like the most important, because like, does your cleaner really clean like under your couches and like the windowsills and blinds? Like maybe like once a month, but you know what I mean? Like not, people like aren't doing that, but it's that like deep cleaning, like, you know, the baseboards, the creases. And then it's kind of the painting, I think, is important, because paint can really, I feel like, go a long way.
Yes.
Like you don't have to remodel everything, but I think that like fresh, clean appeal really works. And one thing that I notice a lot is like the scuffs on like not only the walls, but the baseboards or the door trims. It just makes it look like worn and old.
Totally.
So I think like, you know, kind of freshening up
the corners of the walls.
Corners and like, you know, my husband uses a great trick, which I always say he should patent, which he takes like, he has like a little like Tupperware container, and you take your wall color and you add just like a little bit of water, and it kind of makes it a little bit lighter, but that always works as a good touch up. And he has like a little mini roller, and every time we have a holiday, he's out there with his thing. Oh yes, he's out there like touching it up. But with adding
I would love if my husband did that.
With the little roller and the little bit of water, it makes it so like you don't see it, like if the so it kind of like thins it out, but it covers beautifully every time. Nice. So that's a nice little tip. The other thing that I think is important is, you know, cleaning. And I think like sometimes the one thing that's my pet peeve is like beds. And the beds are like a huge pet peeve of mine, because I always like to think of like when you walk into a hotel and like fresh, you know, well, not only that, but just like light colors and white and clean and fluffy, neutral. Yeah. And I think like it doesn't have to be expensive. Like Target makes great like duvet covers, and you could even, as a trick, I do this, you could take your, like if you have a colored comforter, you could just buy like an inexpensive duvet and put your current comforter right in it,
and then just throw
it right on some nice pillows that are not saggy but fluffy, and it really makes a difference. That's an easy trick. The other thing is also like and then also like your closets and your pantries, because people are going to look in them. So you want to just make sure things aren't falling on them, like you talked about. And then
put away things.
Put away,
too.
and the clutter,
private things or medications, that sort of thing. That's always important.
And jewelry, anything. Yes. And don't leave your laptops out. Like I always say, like put away, you know, all your expensive belongings. And then finally, like don't neglect the outside.
Yes.
Right? What you say, like, how do you feel about curb appeal? Like, what are your favorite things you tell people to do about like the outside?
I mean, that's the first impression. So it's truly just to get a good freshen up. As far as your yard goes, I mean, that makes a huge difference, because there are people who are on top of it. So the second your house goes on market,
they're driving to
they're driving by. They're like, do I like this neighborhood? Do I like this house? What does it look like on the outside before I even call
and you're
my
outside, and if your lawn isn't kept and you have weeds or it's not, it kind of is an impression of that's probably what the inside looks like. Yeah. Right? I mean, even if it's not, but that's kind of an impression.
Yeah. And don't come to my house right now. I've got
you have a lot of land.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, you know, an impression. And I think the other thing that bothers me is the porch. Like do you know how many porches I go to that have like cobwebs and
power wash
and like
Power wash.
clean and like clean off your yard furniture. You know, if you have cushions, put them out. But also put a new fresh doormat. Like I usually bring one for my clients. I know you do too.
Yeah.
But just, I mean, they're $12 or $10, but that just like looks clean. Like, well, it doesn't have to be expensive, but just like something fresh. And then also your front door, like front doors that are like all like scuffed and like if you need to, like get a roller and just like quickly roll your front door. Just
Totally
to, like,
true.
Those are just a couple.
Well, even
things.
thinking about my front door right now, like, yes, I live on a country setting, so it gets kind of dirty, but it gets super scuffed because it's black.
Yes, it's black.
Yeah.
So those are just like some like easy things, and they don't have to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they are things that you can do yourself, right? And if you need extra help, you know, obviously when you're thinking of it, it doesn't cost anything to bring a realtor over, bring Apryl and I over. We will go through this for free with you. We have checklists we'll leave with you. Yeah. We have people that can garden for you, that can clean. We have stagers. I mean,
we've talked about this before. I love to organize.
Yes. And I love to stage. So you have your dynamic duo here.
Here we are.
But I think that those are things, and they really do make a difference. And the last thing I'll say about it is, people are coming through your house, and you know, it's an impression of you, and you judge when you go through other people's houses, you know, in a way, like if you're shopping for something and something's $1 million, like, you know, you're like $1 million and that closet door is like broken.
Or you know what gets me sometimes is you walk through, and it's totally fine to sell a house that's owner occupied. I mean, I've done it many times.
Not everybody can move out.
It's the smells also.
So yes,
if you cook something for dinner the night before and it's just got this pungent smell, and then you have a client or, you know, somebody coming in and viewing your house the next day and it smells just awful. Well, it could smell good, but it's just
strong.
It's strong. And that turns people off. Or even the fact if you like your house super cold during the day.
I was going to say the temperature is a big one.
It's do you want somebody to walk through your house and they be so freezing cold that they walk right out, or too hot and they walk right out? I mean, you got to think about those things.
Here, like you probably got into like the model homes. This is a great example. And they have all the lights on, everything's put away. They sometimes have music playing. And it's warm. And the reason is because they want you to stay and they want you to hang out. It's a psychology trick. And they want you to picture yourself being there. And the longer that you're in the house, the more chance you are to like fall in love with it or buy it or picture yourself being there. The other thing that I have a huge issue with is pets. And I'm not a pet person. I don't have pets, and a lot of
I love mine 2 dogs.
And I love pets, but I don't have any.
Yes. We know about your story.
We know about my story.
That's smart.
But I think like the smell of pets, and the one thing like, and I tell my clients is like, if you have the cat climber things, like put them in the garage. You can put them back in when you get home. But nobody wants to start envisioning like, could your pet have peed on that or what?
Yes.
Like, you know, get that out of the way. Dog beds can be like, even if you have the cutest little dog, they could be stinky. Like, don't have dog beds in every room. Like, get those out.
I agree.
And then they have those like really good neutralizers, you know, that are just like not like fragrant. The odor.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Febreze type stuff.
But the number one thing that's like a dead giveaway is like when you go into a house and there's like air fresheners plugged in everywhere and there's like candles lit. You're like, okay, what are they trying to, you know, cover up? So there's a difference between cleaning and like neutralizing than trying to cover us.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think those are some really good tips because I mean, of course, there's other things that you can do.
These are just basic.
But you really have to, I think really what it comes down to too is you have to really look at your timeline. And that's what we do as agents is I'll really just look at the calendar and say, okay, when is your ideal on market? Like,
correct.
Do you want to stay in your house until your kids are done with this school year? Okay, then how much time does that really allow us? And we are already in March. So if you're already in March, you really don't have that much time to get your house prepped for market, you know, especially with kids scheduled. Like for me right now, as my mom, moments are driving my kids to practice all the time. So really, if I were to get my house prepped for market right now, like I don't have the time to
and I have almost every weekend booked with between like an open house or, you know, my daughter's like volleyball stuff and sports and, you know, and then the 100 days in May for anybody who has kids. That's like all your end of the year parties and activities and graduations
and everything.
But that, all the sports. And so that's like a really busy.
It comes quick. It comes really quick.
And it's overwhelming. And I think like the number one thing is to try to do it as soon as possible, because our job is to help you and try to like relieve the stress, but you can help yourself by planning ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, great. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about your mom moment? No, just hustle and bustle of children's life?
I guess my thing is like, you talked about your mom, and I just was wondering like how, like questioning, like how do you feel, like have you helped other relatives? Like have you ever had a relative not use you for a sale? Like how would you feel about that?
I think it would depend on the relative.
Definitely depend on the relative.
Yeah, but I've helped my mom. I actually have some other family members who reached out who want to sell their house this year. So I'll be working with them, and I'm actually really happy to be working with them. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, like you said, definitely depends on the relative.
Oh, yes.
But for 21 years, I've worked with almost all my family members. Yeah, I've had a few that have called or haven't called to tell me that they'll be listing their property with other people, and that's okay. I mean,
I'd be a little offended, I guess, just because. Well, I guess it depends on my relationship.
It does, and I think what is most offensive is like if they talk to you about it and they get advice about it, and then they don't use you, and they're like, "Oh, well, I used so-and-so because I live in Roanoke Park and they're the neighborhood expert of the M section." And it's like, are they though? So, but I don't
Hey, I'm the neighborhood expert of M
But
section.
we're not related. So
just
how
kidding.
is that going to be, right? So somebody's not telling the truth on that postcard.
I'm the number one agent.
I'm the number one. So anyways, so I think that, it depends.
Yeah.
But, it is hard. And I sometimes it would be nice to like interview or be considered. But, I respect everybody. And I think sometimes I think people, if your relatives or good friends, like they want to keep their like secret.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff is public record.
Everything.
So, I mean, so to each their own. I don't get offended. I really believe that anybody who wants to work with me, family or not, like I appreciate that if they trust me enough.
I agree.
However, it's nice to be considered, and most of my family and friends have given me referrals, and I thank you for that. That's what keeping my business going. So thank you.
I will say that there's been a few times, I guess, not necessarily family, but I found out people are using other agents, which I can't get to be honest, butthurt about it, because if I do, then that brings me down.
Yes.
And I try to live my life just being positive and staying as positive as I can and not get upset about things, because that will just put me in a spiral. And I don't know, I can we'll call it depression, we'll call it whatever, but you have these insecurities, and if you think about it too much, I always say I give myself a day.
That's good. I
give myself a day
to do,
because
to kind of sulk.
I have to
figure it out.
Sometimes binge eat and drink my wine and
feel just sulk
in my own sorrow, and then the next day I wake up and I'm like, okay, I gave it its moment, and I'm just going to move on, because yeah, sure, that's going to happen. You get disappointed, I guess, that somebody doesn't reach out to you and knowing that, I don't know, I guess because I know that I always have I try to have everybody's best interests at heart, right? So I know that I would do a good job, and I think that's what I sulk on the most.
Yeah, and I think it's offensive when like especially when, let's say you're taking a listing and someone might be charging more than you and doing less.
Yeah.
You're trying to like give them a better like price or like do more than you normally would do because they're a good family or friend. I mean, you would do that for anybody.
Totally.
You put like your all in, and I know you and I both put our all into stuff. And there's certain people that just put up signs and don't really care. They treat people like a transaction, where I think we truly care about people. And I think that's where, and sometimes, you have to find out, and this is like the part that I've learned after doing this. There's been clients of mine that have maybe tried to use their uncle or their friend, and it went horribly wrong. I had one that actually tried to use like a really bad discount brokerage on property. And they did not call them again. They had a horrible experience and they called
Well, it's kind of you
me,
get
so
what you get.
you know, their next house. And sometimes it's like, sometimes people have to like reach out beyond us,
Right.
if that makes sense, to figure it out.
Yeah.
And not to say like we're the greatest of the great, but I think we're
Sure.
pretty good at what we do.
Yeah.
And then they have to learn. And I've had people that have done that. Then they're like, well, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, well, you chose them.
Yeah.
I can't help you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good lesson. And sometimes you have to let it go. But it is hard. It's, you know, we have feelings.
But I will say that I would have been extremely mad if my mother didn't use me.
What if your mom went into the open house and like used the open house?
Could you imagine? Oh, I would be so upset with her. But I actually am a really good giver.
So, yes.
So, but my gift of love is what I gave my mother. No, I'm just kidding. I gave her a lot of things.
Yes.
So, and now I have to hear about everything.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Wait till something breaks.
No,
You're like, April.
No, she's remodeling. So now it's I get which I do have to go over there. It's funny because I handed her the keys and then I left for vacation and I was like, okay, bye. I'll see you later. And now she's like, you really need to come over and see the place. I'm like, okay.
That's so cute. I'm so excited. It's a fun experience.
It is. And I do love my mother. As all jokes aside, like it was really, really great to be able to work with my family. I think
so, yeah.
I liked it. So
what's our Swiftie sell of the month?
Swiftie sell of the month is, I like to say that we highlight celebrity homes because they're fun, they're exciting. It's something different than what we
I
have.
feel like we can always learn a little bit from it.
Absolutely. And with this Swiftie sell of the month, we have The Mask, right? It was The Mask. The Mask was the name of it. We had Jim Carrey's home, which he purchased in 1994 for $3.8 million. And I just want to highlight that we are in 2024 and he is listing that same home, which, mind you, he probably put a lot of work into it, but $28.9 million is what he's listing for. It was built in 1951 in Brentwood, California. And it has a hedge that provides plenty of privacy. Like they say it's 280 feet of hedge surrounding.
Do you think you could
property.
like get through the hedge, or do you think there's like a fence?
No, I think it's
like,
definitely
solid.
It's solid.
You'd get like stuck in the hedge.
He's The Mask. It's not going to happen. But it has a pool, it like a whole outdoor entertaining area, 5 bedrooms, 6 full bathrooms, 3 half bathrooms, and it's mostly 1-story ranch homes. So there must be a little bit of a level there. But it said actually that the movie theater itself is like this like intense, crazy movie theater. Like it's a premier movie theater.
Wow.
It's actually really cool.
Its own like private screenings.
Heck, yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. Could you imagine going to Jim Carrey's house and be like, hey, can we
You're like,
go
what
see
should I bring?
the Truman Show?
You're all, do you want some licorice or some popcorn? Or do you have people?
I'm sure he has a whole station of
He's all, wait,
candy.
what are you talking about? I have my own concession stand.
Yeah, he probably even has like the guy working.
Yeah, it's like, wait, he probably has his people.
Truly does. But
he has his own like popcorn buckets, like the Taylor Swift ones.
Yes. Oh, like branded and everything. Well, if you'll see in an image that we're going to post, that he has like he has framed costumes of when he was in The Mask.
He does?
Like it's actually pretty darn cool.
So it's kind of like a museum.
Pretty much.
Like going to like Hard Rock Cafe.
Yes.
Like how they have like
yes. That's exactly it.
That's cool.
Exactly. I don't know. Like he also in his outdoor area has like a meditation space and all kinds of different stuff, which I think he's very much a manifester.
Yeah.
Did you know that about him?
I didn't know
I
that.
don't know. I watched a lot of interviews and stuff.
I
about
love
him.
like documentaries and interviews, but I know I've watched a few, but I didn't know that.
He truly believes, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
He truly believes in manifesting. When he got his first gig, he had manifested, I want to say it was like 5 years before or something like that, when he just got into the business. He wrote himself, I think it was like $1 million check, and he wrote it to him and he put it in his wallet and he manifested that he was going to make $1 million. And then fast forward 5 years or whatever, he got his first movie and his payment was $1 million. Did you never hear that story?
I never heard that story.
Totally YouTube it. You can watch it. But
I love that. I love manifesting, and I love that.
I totally believe in that.
I do too.
Just to, you have.
Have you ever like talked about something like, and then the next day or a couple days later, like it happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, you know,
I believe in it.
I believe in it too. And I think that that's part of why I like to surround myself with like positive, fun people. Cause I feel like that, like you're talking about, like the negativity can like bring you down.
Yeah.
And I feel like manifesting it, and it's kind of like if you don't put stuff out in the universe, how does it happen?
Yeah.
So yes, you definitely have to create your own destiny.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
You know?
So anyway, his house is gorgeous. It's got all kinds of different stuff. It even has a tennis court, but I don't know. I think it's a pretty awesome spot.
So that's so awesome. But before we go, there's just like one more like fun fact that I think we should like talk about.
Sure.
And you know, like Jim Carrey, that's a difference of what, like $25 million?
Oh,
roughly. Like,
yeah. So I mean, 28.9 versus 3.8.
roughly. So like, I know in a regular transaction of your primary residence, you're single, like let's say your mom, for instance, she could take up to a $250,000 profit.
Yes.
Tax free. And if you're married, it's $500,000. I don't know if you know this or not. But what I don't know, and I should know this, is I guess I don't know if it really like goes up in price, because I don't think it does. So what do you have to pay capital gains on that 20-something million dollars?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a 1031 exchange where you can roll it over to an investment property.
Right.
So that's just interesting to think about. So just,
that is very interesting.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So capital gains is a thing, guys. So just make sure that you're aware of that, because there are a lot of people who sell their house to purchase a new house, and they have a ton of equity. And you have to pay taxes.
So that's just something to know. I mean, you get a certain amount. 250 as a single person, 500,000 in California. This is, you know, married, tax free, but anything above that you have to pay. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My fun fact.
I mean, I wish I had like 20-something million in extra in my equity built in my house. Although if you look at his house, like I wonder, I mean, it was originally built in 51. I'm sure
did
he's
a lot
put
of retrofitting.
so much work into it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's Jim Carrey.
Yeah. So we have some fun things coming up in the future as we end. We're going to do thank you to our audience who always likes us, subscribes, and gives us some positive feedback. They definitely want more specialty shows. So Apryl and I are going to take our show on the road in the next couple of episodes. So you'll see some field trips and some
the requests are coming in.
The requests are coming in. So we hear you. So we are going to answer your requests. So we're going to take our show on the road, and we hope that you'll join us and stay tuned.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Everybody have an amazing day. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And
see you next time.
Have a good day.